Welcome, one, welcome all, to another episode of the Nah But For Real Though podcast. This is episode 22 of the podcast. And as usual, I will start off with a Snapple fact from a real fact from Snapple. Chocolate often includes vanilla. The more you know. Snapple, made from the best stuff on earth. Nah, but for real though, how has your week been? Um, as mentioned before, this is another episode of the Nah, but for real though podcast, and this episode will be a review of the House of Dragons. Now, um, uh, I've seen Game of Thrones, which this is House of Dragons is House of the Dragon is basically a prequel sequel to that, which means basically it's a sequel to Game of Thrones, but the setting of the sequel of said sequel takes place what year it takes place 172 years before Game of Thrones, which is nice. So yeah. So yeah. Um basically with without further ado, let's begin. So season 1 started with a hearing of the succession of who would be king, basically, who would be the next heir to the throne. So basically, um the one who was sitting on the throne currently was King Jaehaerys, and in the show, they say that 14 succession claims were heard, but only two of them were truly considered. So there's that. The names of the last two people who were like considered. Oh yeah. But before I even forget, there was like a grand council who basically like looked over the claims that were heard, right? So yeah. Um the two people who were truly considered were um Viserys Targaryen and Rhaenys Targaryen. And so, if I'm not mistaken, the the way that the way that it like their family tree is set up, I believe Rhaenys is the older sibling and Viserys is the younger sibling. But I mean, but uh, basically the king chose Viserys over Rhaenys, basically because Viserys is a man. So yeah, they're misogynistic in that way, which I mean, it is what it is. I mean, the show does take place in like in like medieval times era, just like Game of Thrones did. So yeah. Um, King Jaehaerys basically named Viserys the next heir to the throne, which I mean, it is what it is. So, anyways, when when this happens, Ra- Rhaenys is basically no then known at like she's people give her the nickname the woman who never became king, which I mean she could have been right. She could have been named the queen. You feel me? So, but I mean, it is what it is. And I know, like, women are going to, what's it called? Um, say, oh, that's misogynistic. Oh, that's sexist. Which I mean, that's true, but I mean, it is what it is. Like, that's the name of the game. Like, literally. So, anyway, we move forward. So after this, oh yeah, she was. Rhaenys became the queen who never was. Damn, that's tough. Um, so at the time of the like succession, naming, um, Viserys has a wife, and um, he has a he has well at the time he has a wife, but she unfortunately passed. Before I even forget, um, before I forget, um, it's now the ninth year of King Viserys the First Targaryen's reign. 172 years before the death of the Mad King. Heirs and the birth of his daughter, Princess Daenerys Targaryen. Which is cool. Um, had to give a little exposition, but it is what it is. So yeah, so Viserys has a brother named Daemon Targaryen, and yeah, Daemon is clearly envious of the throne, but it is what it is. So yeah, the King Viserys, has a wife, and this wife was pregnant and gave birth to a girl who we all know and love, named Rhaenyra. Now, Viserys, uh, knowing how the Grand Council is, the grand basically Viserys knows the Grand Council really wants to stick to tradition and basically have heirs of only men on the throne, on the Iron Throne. For those of you who don't know, the Iron Throne is basically what literally everyone wants. And the true heirs to the throne are the Targaryens. So yeah. Um when they let me see. So when the time came for the king to declare an heir, because the king was getting older. The king was like getting sick often, and I mean the 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 medical treatments back in those times were just god awful. Like the best thing the king could could get was leechings, which that just sounds gross. Like don't allow uh things that look like leeches look, and and um um and have them suck your blood like a vampire. Like that's not that's not pushing P, no. But hindsight is 2020, so I gotta give him grace. I gotta give them grace. So yeah. Um but yeah, the king was getting sick often, and they they wanted the king to name an heir to the throne, and the queen at the time. So the king tried to have a queen, have his wife, whose name I'm forgetting. I forgot her name. Hang on. His wife's name was Aema. So Aema was pregnant. The child like was having like their his wife had complications at birth, and Aema passed away, unfortunately. So that led him that he was left with no choice but to name Rhaenyra as heir to the throne. Which I mean, that would have been different, and honestly, that would have been exciting too. Um, but yeah, So I think because um because of tradition and this monogamistic, no, misogynistic society, the king was pressured to marry another person, but but his options, like the options that he was given, were on the young side of things. If you pick up what I'm putting down, so so he was given an option to wed either Lena Valerian. He was given that option to marry her. This girl was, hang on, Lena Valerian. Lena Valerian. Age. Yeah, Lena. In the At first, she was 12. Jeez. And I mean, listen, the the king didn't want to marry her because she was so young, and un- understandably so. So, so when so seeing as that was the case, he understandably didn't want to marry Lena. So he went with Alicent Hightower, who is, of course, Rhaenyra's best friend. Now, um, this drove a wedge, obviously, between Rhaenyra and her father. So, yeah, but I mean, hey, look at the bright side. The king had an had a male heir, and yeah. Um, but I mean, even though the king had finally had a male heir, he still wanted Rhaenyra to be the queen. She's a woman, so she'd be the queen. So yeah. Um. Oh yeah. So basically, um, since what's her name? Since the king's wife died, um, Balon. No, 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 no. Balon was the name of the king's son who passed, but Daemon, who's the king's brother, calls uh the dead the dead boy the prince for a day, which I mean that's disrespectful. That's salty. And honestly, Prince Damon was a snake. He really was. But yeah, um, bro, Prince for a day was actually pretty wild. But yeah, but yeah, um, so yeah, the king marries Alicent, and and yeah, so no, you know, you know what I think happened. Um, the king named Rhaenyra heir to the throne, which Damon got salty about. He keeps on denying it, but I mean, it's written like he doesn't have to say it out loud. He keeps on denying it, but I mean, we all know it's true. He was Damon Targaryen was salty over for not being named uh not being named, what's it called, the heir to the throne, which I mean it is what it is. But yeah, so yeah, I'm pretty sure the reason why uh the king didn't choose Damon was cuz the people, no, basically the hand, which is basically the king's right hand man, um no, people at the king's council, uh they didn't see Damon as a good fit. They said that if Damon took the throne, there would be chaos. So, which I mean, in my personal opinion, I think Damon, even though he may be chaotic at times, he would have been at least a decisive king. You feel me? At least, with him, things would actually, things would be getting done. So he'd be effective. Yes. But yeah. So yes, there's anarchy elsewhere. No, no, no. In the Stepstones, there's anarchy there, and so Damon, being the natural leader that he is, he basically goes and defeats the Triarchy, who are in the Stepstones. Now, who are the Triarchy? The Triarchy is an alliance between the cities of Lys, Myr, and Tyrosh. They take over the Stepstones and control the shipping lanes. as we all know, he who controls the shipping lanes controls the nation, or something like that. But anyway, basically, there's an enemy who's named the Crab Feeder, who, I mean, the name should be self-explanatory, but the Crab Feeder basically defeats his enemies, and then as their enemies are bleeding out, they bring crabs near their enemies, and the crabs basically eat them. So the crabs were eating humans, which would be a terrible way to go. That would be a terrible way to go. Um, but yeah. So Damon defeats the crab feeder and cuts this dude, like, cuts the dude in half and is dragging the top half to the king, which is a lovely sight, you know. So yeah. Mm, oh yeah. So I think the next thing that we see is that um Rhaenyra, you know, Rhaenyra needs a compat a companion, or no, a husband, and she basically has she marries Laenor Valerian, Corlys Valerian's son, but you know, but you know, she's intimate with Sir Kristen Cole, which, I mean, it is what it is. It be like that sometimes. Um, what we come to find out is that Laenor um does not Laenor swings for the same gender. So yeah. And when things got to a point where to where what's it called? Laenor Laenor basically had to escape. So what was happening was um basically there were talks going around that uh there were talks that uh what's it called? The kids that Rhaenyra was birthing weren't weren't Laenor's, but they were someone else's. Which, which I mean, to me, I think that would be obvious. That would be kind of obvious in that these babies were white. They didn't have they didn't have an ounce of melanin in them, which I mean to be fair, Laenor is light skinned. He's not that black, so I mean I don't really know how genetics work. I, I'm not an expert. I'm not an expert on genetics, but I mean, I do agree that there there would be at least some form of melanin in the children that in the children of a biracial couple. And on top of that, these babies had black hair. Not a single one of those kids had gray hairs, which was also peculiar. So yeah, once that got to a head, like once the pot was like boiling and peop and the kids were fighting among themselves that that um that one of Rhaenyra's kids was a bastard. J- Basically, Laenor had came up with an elaborate plan to fake his death and escape to somewhere. I forgot where, but yeah. So yeah. So a lot of things were happening. Um, where where basically Viserys wasn't happy with the things that were happening in his kingdom, and and I mean, in his frustration, he he had chosen to get rid of his hand, Otto Hightower, which I completely understand. You know, like a lot of things were happening where and no, basically Otto basically didn't want Otto didn't want a woman to be a king. No, to be on the throne. Period. Because of tradition. Oh. And so it even got to the point where he was manipulating different situations. And so when the king ousted him, he appointed Lionel Strong, but then later takes Otto back. So yeah. Oh, I didn't know this happened. Oh yeah, I remember. Um, Damon killed his wife, Lady Rhea of the Vibe, of the Veil. Um, he just never consummated their marriage. What does consummate mean? Consum consummates. What does that mean? To make it complete. Oh, by having sexual intercourse. Okay. Oh, okay, cool. So yeah, he killed her and married Lena Valerian. Valerian. Lady Valerian is actually cute. Um, but I must stay focused. Lady Valerian is was black. And unfortunately, she did die after giving birth to two daughters, which is just unfortunate. Bruh. Okay. Lena chose to face Vagar, who was her dragon, and command. Yeah, she said Dracarys, which, as we all know, uh, it makes their dragon, you know, breathe fire. But yeah. Oh yeah. After this, um, Alicent's second son, Aemond, actually claims Vagar. Which, I mean, just full disclosure, Vagar is a huge dragon. Vagar is huge. And because of this, one of Rhaenyra's sons, like, takes out, takes out, um, his, takes out his eye. I forgot which eye, but yeah. Um, Aemond gets his eye taken out, uh, by one of Rhaenyra's sons, which, I mean, that's payback. That's a valid payback because Vagar was supposed to be, let me see. Lucerys stabbed Aemond in the eye, which was well deserved because Vagar was supposed to be Lucerys's dragon, but not anymore. So yeah. So yeah. Oh, I didn't know that. Many of the Targaryen Valerian children were betrothed to one another. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So what's her name? Alicent did have multiple kids with what's his name? Viserys. And I'm pretty sure the oldest was Aegon, Aegon, yeah, Aegon was the oldest. Yeah, Aegon was the oldest, and uh, uh, um, Aegon, well, through I mean, the king, Aegon became king by through a misunderstanding, um, and then basically the king, Viserys had dementia at the time, and he was senile. He was senile, and uh, and through his senileness, he was Rhaenyra was talking to him, and then um, he fell asleep with his senileness, and the next time he wakes up, he tells Alicent that what's his name, Aegon is to be is going to lead the kingdom to 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 glory, I think, or something like that. So yeah, this changes things, and to where Alicent now believes that the king wants Aegon to be king, like to be king now. So yeah, Daemon and Rhaenyra. Oh yeah, I mentioned this earlier, but Daemon and Rhaenyra help fake Laenor, who was her husband, fake his death, and well, Rhaena marries Rhaena marries her uncle, which is a trend in Game of Thrones. If you remember, well, this is House of Dragon, but if you remember in Game of Thrones, Jon Snow was um, Daenerys Targaryen's uh, nephew, which I'm pretty sure, even though Daenerys was younger, she was still his aunt. That don't make sense to me, but okay, it is what it is. So yeah, so yeah. Season one was season one was chocked full of a lot. There was a lot that happened. Oh yeah, so I forgot to mention, Aegon, bro, Aegon has a lot of illegitimate kids, like across the kingdom. Like this dude goes to brothels on brothels on brothels. Uh, like a multitude of kids just just Piping and spraying, piping and spraying, piping and spraying. So yeah, like I said, um, Aegon is named king, and and the problem with this is, with Aegon being named king, Rhaenyra has to kneel to kneel to Aegon, as because, like, well, whether she likes it or not, she's like part of the royalty, and or whatever, and she just can't do that. So of course she escapes, and yeah, Aegon is crowned. No, Aegon the Second is crowned, and yeah, yeah. So as I mentioned before, uh, Aemond stole Lucerys's dragon, Vhagar. That's the dragon's name. The dragon's name is Vhagar, and Lucerys took out Aemond's eye, which, to be fair, that's a fair exchange. But no, that wasn't enough for Aemond. He had to get more. He had to get his revenge. So since so since he since Aemond looks and acts like a snake, he clearly had to plot on Lucerys's downfall. So when he saw Lucerys flying in the sky, basically they had a conflict, and um Aemond lost like control of the dragon, and the dragon killed um Lucerys and his dragon. So yeah. So yeah, that's basically, and to be fair, um Aemond killing Lucerys is what caused Rhaenyra to go to war, because in her mind, because to be frank, Rhaenyra will be damned if she has to kneel to the brother of the person who killed her son, and that's absolutely fair. That's fair. Oh yeah, so this was season 2, but I forgot this detail. Basically, um, let me see. The what's it called? Alicent's side her side are the Greens and and um for whatever reason, uh Rhaenyra's side is the Blacks, even though she's Snow White. But hey, the show got a show, you know? So, yeah. Um so as I mentioned before, um basically the Greens side is wants Rhaenyra to kneel to the king, or else it's off with her head, or but Rhaenyra isn't doing that because they killed her son. Um, they so yeah. In light of this, because Rhaenyra is seeking to go to war, she needs allies, and so in light of her need for allies, she asks, uh, this is she asked, what's his name, Damon, her uncle cousin, her uncle husband, to go to Harrenhal and ask them to be their allies. This leads him to a basically long ass arc of basically finding himself because um Harrenhal is where Lord the crippled Lord uh it's where the crippled Lord used to live. Um what was his name? The crippled Lord. The crippled Lord House Laris Strong. Laris Strong. So yeah. Um so yeah, the crippled Lord, uh Lord Laris, um he used to live in Harrenhal, but he doesn't anymore because Harrenhal is completely in ruins. And on top of that, it may be cursed by this witch who is there, and the witch is basically just playing games with him nonstop. Now, mind you, the sole reason why Damon is there is because he needs allies, and so he sticks it out. Um, but yeah, all the while, um, uh, let's see. Yeah, Rhaenyra is looking for answers. No, well, yeah, she's looking for answers because she wants to end uh the war, or no, avoid going to war if that's at all possible. So basically what she does is she meets with she meets with Alicent, cuz I mean they grew apart, but yeah, they grew apart, but she meets with her um and well, to try to hash things out, but uh this is when Rhaenyra comes to find out um, that the whole thing was a misunderstanding, but Alicent isn't backing down of she isn't backing down of naming or crowning Aegon as king, which, well, because uh, it's already been done. No takebacksies. That's that's basically Alicent's thought process. And on top of that, um, well, it's a running theme of uh, 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 the women not being listened to, which is unfortunate. What can you do? So yeah, because of tradition, yeah. So yeah, um, and oh yeah, I also forgot to mention. I also should mention that Damon um basic hired people to kill the king, the would-be king, but instead of killing him, uh, they kill one of the king's sons because the king wasn't in the castle at the time. So yeah, um, and the person who killed the king's son was one of the rat catchers that Damon hired. And so yeah, when Rhaenyra, it was after that happened that Rhaenyra went to spoke with Alicent to try to convince her not to crown Aegon. So yeah. Anyway, moving on. Um, in Rhaenyra's search for um for allies, she then realizes that with allies, with her search of allies, um she well, dragons are also her very useful allies. The problem was that she doesn't have any dragon riders. So she put out a search for potential dragon riders, and and at first she was unlucky because um one of the dragons didn't accept him and just burned him alive, which is unfortunate, but yeah. But yeah, so later after, uh, uh, what's the name of the dragon? I've got the. Listen. I'm a little hazy on the dragons' names, but yeah, the so basically, let's see, Rhaenyra has two dragons in stock. Those, and once those dragons find their dragon riders, she's now more ready for war than she has ever been. And so, yeah. Um, the king has been crowned, and right when the crown was placed atop of his head, of Aegon's head, Rhaenyra, the queen who never was, like crashed that party, and and uh and basically fled the scene because she also was not bowing down to the little boy that is Aegon. So yeah, I think what I'm a little fuzzy on the details, but like I think Aegon, no, Aegon found out that Rhaenyra has two riders, two dragon riders, and because of that, uh, Aegon tried going to war. He tried to strategize, but he saw that no one in the strategy room was listening to him because, well, basically they don't respect him as a king, which uh, honestly, why would anyone respect a a little boy who has no vision? Why would why would anyone respect that little boy's strategy? It's unfortunate, but hey, it is what it is. Even even Aegon's mother didn't respect his strategy, and that's rough. That's tough. That really is tough. I'll be honest. When let me see, what happened? When which I mean, to be honest, that is disrespectful to your king that you're supposed to listen to. But hey, it is what it is. So fast forward, um, Amond and and the others, Kristen Cole, they're on the battlefield. Aemond's on his dragon, and Aegon, out of nowhere, he unexpectedly, you know, um, rushes onto the battlefield, which this of course pisses Aemond off. Um, and so naturally, um, in true natural selection, Aegon. I think what happened was Aegon tried to kill the queen that never was, but but basically, I think she burned him alive with her with her dragon. She burned him, the king, and his dragon, and his dragon. Aegon's dragon burned Aegon himself, and so yeah, now Aegon basically looks like Freddy Krueger and is unable to walk. So yeah. However, Aemond did get back. He killed Rhaenyra. So R.I.P. to Rhaenyra. You were the goat, and you should have been queen. But hey, it is what it is. Now, um, yeah, this led to um. Now we have Aegon, who's relearning how to walk, which is tough for him. But hey, it is what it is. You rush onto the battlefield, and and you nearly died. Be thankful that you have your life. Like, at least. So yeah. Um. So now Aemond is running the king, the the kingdom. Yeah. I forgot what happens. So the names of the dragons and their riders are as follows. Uh, so Sea Smoke, who basically burned a knight, um, and then left to go find another rider, to find a rider for itself. It chose a person named Adam as its rider. Um, the dragon Vermithor, which is the biggest I think the biggest dragon Rhaenyra owned. Vermithor chose Hugh to ride it. Silverwing chose Ulf as its rider. Um, Now Daemon's sister, one of Daemon's daughter, Baela, is riding Moondancer, who Moondancer isn't fully grown yet, but yeah, Baela scouts with Moondancer, and Reyna, she doesn't have a dragon yet, but hopefully she's able to ride the wild dragon that she found. So yeah. Season 2 is ramping up, clearly. Um, Back at Harrenhal, Prince Daemon, well, the I think they called him the King's Regent, but Daemon is able to realize, um, no, he sees the future and and finally accepts Rhaenyra. No, yeah, Rhaenyra as a queen, and he has his allies formed, and and he bends the knee to her. He bends the knee to Rhaenyra because Rhaenyra takes matters into her own hands after finding dragon riders for her dragons, and well, another spicy detail, something spicy that happened was um, Rhaenyra and Mysaria made out, which I mean, I I didn't see that coming. No pun intended, but still, I did not see that coming. It was a nice detail, but Loki, I'm I'm looking forward to see what happens between them, if anything at all. Hell, maybe Rhaenyra and Allison could potentially have something going on, bro. The crazy thing is, people all over Twitter have been shipping Rhaenyra and Allison, which I mean, listen, I'm all for it. I really am. So, House of Dragon, you know what to do in season. Wait, what? Yeah, you know what to do in season 3. Make it happen. Now, oh yeah, so um, and in any case, uh, oh, the king may not be much longer, much longer for this world that's basic because that's basically what Allison told Rhaenyra when they met again, because they met a second time to strategize how Rhaenyra would take the throne. So yeah, they're bro, bro. Season 2 ended in the most cliffhanger way possible with Rhaenyra um calling out Aegon. Well, Aemond. He's now the king. He's in the king's place. Aemond. Rhaenyra is challenging Aemond now for the throne because she has an army of dragons. She also has allies. She has more allies besides the dragons, but she's now challenging uh 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 Aemond for the throne. She got her money up, not her funny up. So yeah, that's basically all that happened in House of Dragon. And yeah. Um I can't wait for season 3. I really can't. So yeah. Um that's the episode for today. I just wanted to do this recap um of House of Dragons cuz like um s- I'm pretty sure season 3 will be coming soon. Um I'm pretty sure I'll have to check, but I think it's coming 2025. So yeah, I can't wait for that. And with that being said, this has been another episode of the Naba For Real Though podcast. Please always remember that life is pain, life is painful, and yet life is too short to be serious 24/7. So smile sometimes. And with that, also follow me on my socials. It's green, GREEN, machine underscore 23 on Instagram. Be sure to follow the Nah But For Real Though pod. Nah But FRTHOPPOD on Instagram, and follow me on Twitter and on TikTok. Um, at it's FAMO underscore GOODLOVE 23. And that's on Twitter and on TikTok. Also, if you have Blue Sky, don't be afraid to follow me on Blue Sky. It's Famo Good Love 23 .bsky .social. Yeah, so yeah. And with that being said, this has been another episode of the Naba For Real Though podcast. Again, I am your host, Famo. I have been your host, Famo Good Love. And with that being said, bye.